Hey guys, how's it going? On this week's video, I'll be talking about the difference between moving your bones and reorienting them. So when a lot of people think of coming to see a personal trainer or a strength coach or a movement coach or a PT or what have you, basically anyone that coexists within this movement realm, they often think about exercises or drills to make them stronger, right? But that's not exactly what the purpose of a lot of these drills are for. It's not to make you better at contracting tissue, muscular tissue. It's not that at all. It's about being able to understand and relate more authentically to yourself as well as to your external environment. What the hell does that even mean? When I expose someone for the first time to protraction, this is quite often what many people will give me, all right? So reach or protract with the shoulder blade, and most people will give me either torso rotation or a little bit of extension, right? So now I feel a little bit of lumbar, lower back action. But that's not what I'm really asking for. I'm asking for that shoulder blade to move forward and around the rib cage. So I'm looking for this motion. In order for this motion to happen, the rib cage has to stay fixed in space. That has to happen. What I just demonstrated was something along the lines of this. Okay? So it rotates around, but it doesn't really, they don't move with respect to one another. That will look something like this. So now I'm feeling a little bit of lat on the left side, serratus on the right, and like this kind of connection in my upper back, so that's going to be middle and upper traps. That's what I felt on the second version, and that's really what I want people to experience. It's not about doing a bunch of reaches so that serratus gets stronger. It's about being able to understand what the task is and what constraints have to be put in place so that you can feel what you need to feel. Feeling is the name of the game. If I'm just going to have you do a bunch of reps to get you stronger, then I become like every other practitioner under the sun. That's not what I'm about. What I'm about is teaching you how to extract more information, more sensory data from the drill, from your environment, from your body. Because now the brain can take all of this data and help it produce better and more efficient motor patterns. You cannot work with tools or inputs or ingredients that you don't know exist or that you don't have access to. So if you've never felt serratus perform this action, if you've never felt the integration of middle and upper trap, if you've never felt the opposite lat kind of help in retracting the opposite shoulder blade when you're protracting with the intended shoulder blade, you don't have access to any of that information. You don't have access to any of these tools. You don't have access to any of this awareness. So if you don't have access to this awareness, as far as your brain is concerned, it doesn't exist. So there's no wonder why certain movement patterns, certain muscular tension, certain joint stiffness or perceived joint stiffness doesn't go away. It's because no one ever gives you access to these things. At best, what some people will do is they will actually, in a passive sense, release tissue or cause certain muscle structures to relax, either through massage or e-stim or the Theragun, good Lord, and they give you a sense of passive increased range of motion or flexibility or what have you. When you are unable to acquire these inputs on your own, when you're unable to self-generate these inputs, well, guess what? You can't self-generate them. You can't hold on to this pattern. It's the reason why you get a massage and a couple hours later or the next day, the tightness or the stiffness comes back, sometimes even worse than before. Why? It's because that stiffness was the only thing holding you up. That stiffness was the mechanism by which your body gave you stability because you lacked it from other areas. It's like, oh, I don't know how to manage my hamstrings, my serratus, my adductors, my inner thigh, right? To deal with gravity efficiently. So what am I going to feel? I'm going to feel a lot of quads, I'm going to feel a lot of lower back, I'm going to feel a lot of neck tension because I don't have access to the ingredients that will allow me to stand and resist gravity in an efficient manner. And over the long haul, will allow you to not have to deal with lower back, hip, and knee issues. Because these are structures that are designed to do specific things when loaded, right? And what you're doing is you're not allowing yourself to acquire the skills and sensory feedback necessary to create some of these movement patterns. So what does that mean? Like some people come in and like, well, I feel my quads or I feel my glutes and hamstrings when I'm doing a lunge or a deadlift. That's fine. but how did you get into that position, right? Did you get into that position for doing the lunge and deadlift like this? Or were you a little bit more nuanced in your approach? Did you take more time to set up? Did you take the time to feel and acquire the feelings you needed to feel prior to? Because if you just go in and then after the set you're like, yeah, okay, cool, I felt what I needed to feel, hamstrings, adductors, whatever, but you just kind of banged it out and you were almost a little mindless about it, like, I feel sore there, so I must be good. No, you ignored everything that I was trying to address in this video. It's about getting your bones in a specific movement. It's about leveraging the muscles because the bones are stacked in a certain way. So now when the muscles contract, they're in a better position to transmit forces from the ground to your upper body, regardless of what movement you're doing. Even if you're just standing or sitting, you're still dealing with that kind of, these kind of gravitational forces. Because if you're lying down, gravity acts on you. If you're on your side, you're going to sleep, gravity's, if you're sitting down, gravity. If you're standing, gravity. Gravity is constant force that's acting on your body. So you constantly have to be adapting to it, constantly have to be dealing with it and managing these forces. Same thing with airflow. You can go several days without any food, without water, but air, you need air. I think it's like, 3 minutes before you get some kind of brain damage from lack of oxygen. So airflow is important. Airflow is constant. Airflow and gravity are the two things you need to manage. And the best way that you can manage that is by taking advantage of the natural structures and the natural relationships within your body, right? No one's ever taught you this. No one's ever talked about this before, not in this way, not to this level of nuance and fine detail. And that's what I bring to the table, is that there's a huge difference between just banging out reps and getting stronger and bringing up weak musculature, whatever that means. And there's a huge difference between taking in your environment authentically, being able to troubleshoot to get you to sense specific things, and then allowing the nervous system to say, oh, you figured this out. Okay, cool, you know what, I trust you. Here's back your range of motion. We don't need to have these breaks in your nervous system anymore, so we take away a lot of the chronic lower back tension, the hip tension, and suddenly your hips feel freer. And it's not because you stretched, it's because you gave the brain what it was craving. You gave the brain the inputs that it was looking for that you were unable and ill-equipped to provide before. Okay? So again, this is the difference between moving your bones and reorienting your bones for the purposes of troubleshooting movement. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them down below in the comment section. Check out my website, www.mejorstrength. Follow me on Instagram @mejorstrength, and I'll see everybody next Tuesday. Bye.